Hey everybody, welcome to the Hoosier Shooting Podcast here. I have one of my very good friends, Coach Smiley. She was with me, or actually I was with her at Greenwood High School, where we had the only Indiana All-Star and Holly Hoopengardner, a very good friend of ours. And it's funny because when we catch up, she always pops up. She's been on the podcast. She was my third guest.
Aww.
Rocked it, talked about recruitment. But before we get into this, I wish we had a conversation because we were talking for about 15 minutes before we hit record, and we said you said some really good things. I'm like, please don't shoot your shot off the camera. So, but real quick before we get into this, I know you were at Greenwood, you were at Brownsburg, and you competed in a state championship at Brownsburg, and you've had a you won't say this because I know you're humble, but you've had a pretty historic coaching career, Hall of Fame worthy, I would argue.
I don't know about that.
See, that's her right there. She's never going to admit it, but you've had a pretty good run at it for everything you did. Before you were at Greenwood, but now you're enjoying retirement and doing the IBCA.
Yes.
And but before you were at Greenwood, talk about that. Where were you, and what led you up to Greenwood? You said your dad was a coach, and did your dad play?
My dad wasn't a coach. He did a lot of coaching us as kids. I was the youngest of 6 kids, and my 3 older brothers played, and myself, but my 2 sisters didn't play. So yeah, that was the only coaching we did was at the park.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where did he play at?
He did not play basketball. He played in high school, but at that time, he went to Barber College. There wasn't a lot of.
Yeah.
He graduated in 1958. So.
Oh.
Yeah, he had different plans, but he did all the sports decently. He didn't stand out in any.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
But he was very influential in all of our, just my brothers and I just playing sports and there for us, and
he knew enough to
took
be
us
dangerous.
to everything. Yes.
He knew enough to be dangerous.
Yes.
And so you played high school.
I played high school for Cinda Brown.
Okay.
She's a legendary Hall of Fame coach.
And that was
had
at
over 700 wins. That was at Rushville.
Okay. By the way, I'm gonna tell you real quick. I don't know if I've said this on the podcast or not. I like the Rushville gym. Mm-hmm. I just hated playing there. So
everybody says that.
Yes.
It was very hard to win in Memorial Gymnasium.
I mean, we did it the 2 times we went there, but it wasn't like it was easy. I absolutely love the historical side of the gym and everything. But when you go in there and you're a competitor, you walk in, you're like, God, I hate this gym.
I heard a lot of people say that. It was fun to play in that gym, obviously, as an athlete. And then I got the opportunity when I was coaching at Greenwood, we scheduled Rushville because I wanted our kids to experience that atmosphere. Because, obviously in the 80s and 90s, girls basketball was pretty big in Rushville. And, we'd have 2,000-3,000 people at every home game. And we'd have a lot at away games. We just had a good fan following. And even when I was coaching at Greenwood in the late 90s, early 2000s, up to 2014, I think was my last season, 2014, 2015, we went to Rushville, and there's easily 2,000 people. And I remember we went there, we scrimmaged them first. And we pulled the bus up, kids, and they're like, what's going on here? They're like, this is just a scrimmage. I was like, yeah, it's not just a scrimmage.
This is Rushville.
This is what they do in Rushville. They go to basketball games. They go to the sporting events. There's not a lot to do, and so it's a very community, athletic-oriented community. And so the kids were just like, we want to play these guys. This is... and so it was a pretty big deal just as a scrimmage, and then I talked to Melissa Marlowe, and we got them on the schedule, and the kids loved. It was always a great game. It always went down the wire, whether it was at Greenwood or Rushville, and we had some pretty good teams, and so did they at that time when we finally got together and was able to play.
Did you have the band at the baseline for the away team?
They still had the band up on stage.
That's the most annoying thing.
Yeah, it was awesome. We loved it, obviously.
No, well, as a player, yeah, but when I'm the away team, and I'm trying to talk to them, you just hear.
Well, that kind of shocked our kids at first. They're like, what is going on? I was like, oh, this is what they do. So yeah.
From Rushville, you went to.
From Rushville, I went to Franklin College. I played at Franklin College. I was part of a really good team at Franklin, surrounded by several good players, and we had some really good runs in the NCAA. We were NAIA my first 2 years there. or not NAIA. We were, we were. It was a different conference, and so we were NAIA, and then we switched to NCAA Division III, and just got to play with some really probably some. We had a couple Division I players on our team, so that kind of allowed us to be. I think. Let's see, my senior year, we were like first in the Great Lakes region, and like sixth in the nation. So we had a pretty good run. Got to meet Steve Lynch doing some offered camps upon graduation, because I stayed on to be an assistant. I graduated, and the coach at the time, Lisa Mahan, asked me if I would be interested in coaching, and really I had no interest at that time. I was heading to graduate school. And
what'd you want to do?
I was going to go to graduate school for food science, and then she's like, hey, would you be interested in coaching? I'm like, coaching? Well, maybe I'll try teaching.
Yeah.
And so literally I stayed on, because when you're that age, it's like, this.
You don't know what you're doing.
I don't want to go. I really didn't want to start life, to be honest. I kind of was like, I can hang around campus for another couple years. So that's what I did, and I took a teaching internship and loved it. And I was like, I think this is what I want to do, and got into teaching and coaching. And my first 6 years, I was an assistant at Franklin, and I was teaching at Greenwood ultimately, and coaching cross country and track, and then finally made the crossover to high school.
Stepping back real quick, you said that the coach you were with at Rushville was a 700 win coach.
Oh yeah.
Talk about her demands and how that influenced you.
What was awesome about Coach Brown was, first of all, she was one thing I took away from her, was she was very structured in her practice planning. I mean, even back in the 80s, like, she always had a practice plan, and she, we're going to do this for 3 minutes, do this for 4 minutes. Not that we didn't get off schedule a little bit here and there, but she was always very prepared for practice. And she, anything we did, she was very concrete, sequential.
Did you find comfort with that as a player to know?
I did.
You liked it?
I did. I liked it. She was very much, one thing I thought she was very superstitious, and I was like anti-superstitious. I think because I was like, got so overwhelmed, I was like, why? I'm just gonna play. I'm not gonna worry about my socks. And she's like, no, we all gotta wear the same. We gotta have everything the same, and we gotta wear these bracelets here, and on off games. And I was like, what? And she was very much in preparation down to when we're shooting free throws. If we were playing Mount Vernon, they had the megaphones, and they pounded them, and so we played them at practice. She would play them at practice, and we had to shoot free throws while they, that megaphone sound was. But yeah, she was real big on free throws. So I think I took that from her. I took, she's very motivational. She's very much, rah, let's get after it. And so I think she's very intense, and I love that part of it. And she's just passionate about her players, and wanting. We always played hard.
Yeah.
We'd go through a brick wall, and I think that was probably what stands out most, other than the organizational skills.
Is there anything, and I'm going back to my head coach and my parents. My parents always did this, so I made sure that I trailed away, and I'm like, I'm never going to do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Is there something you've never done?
You take bits and pieces. Okay, I'm never doing that. So, as a coach, I just think that, and I was afforded the opportunity to coach cross country and track, which are very different. So and this is probably a little bit a tangent, but
no, you're fine.
Like with cross country, you just got really close to the players. You're out running miles with them. You develop these relationships, and they have to believe in you. They have to buy in. Well, if you're out there running with them, they're going to naturally buy in a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Because you're doing the hard workouts, and you're doing this. And I think in basketball, it's so much more teaching, because you're out there, and you have to run the program, and you have to be the bad guy, and you have good assistants, because they can come in and kind of good cop bad cop type of thing. And I always felt like in basketball, and maybe I just didn't get to build the relationship as much as I would have liked to, because I felt like I was so, okay, we've got to do this, and we've got to do this, and I'm responsible for all this. And if I maybe would have done a little better job of delegating certain things, I think sometimes when you want to be in control, that's hard as a head coach. And I think as I got older, I got a little bit better at that. But I think that, I would go into practice and, you want to see effort, number one. Like,
Yeah.
that was my big thing. Like, I want effort. It didn't matter if it was cross country, basketball, track. Give me your best effort. And obviously your attitude, the little cliche. But yeah, I think from all my years, and I always practiced hard, played hard. And I think one thing that I took from you when you came in for game speed was, and Holly, and I used Holly as an example with this all the time, and I use the catchphrase game speed all the time, because it's like, it's one thing to practice, and you think you're practicing hard, but you're not Holly Hoopengarter practicing hard.
Yeah.
She'd come in at 6 a.m., I'd open the gym, and she'd be drenched with sweat by 6:30. And a lot of kids will come in and they think, oh, it's just good enough to shoot, but they're not shooting game speed shooting. And so that was one thing that I really took away. Like, you gotta simulate how you're shooting, the intensity, whether you're putting up cones or whatever, but you've gotta.
I want to hit reverse real quick, just in case there's a young coach.
Yeah.
You said something very valuable that I just want to dust off. I worked with Scott McClellan at Noblesville. He's at Noblesville now. He's at Morristown. And when he was in a really bad mood, I knew I was like, my day is set. I get to be the joking guy. I get to be the good cop. Like, you have to be the opposite.
Right.
Because a lot of young coaches, and I was under you for that year, 2 years, and for me it was always bad cop, bad cop. Like, oh, you're gonna be this bad cop, I'm gonna be that bad cop. And we did well with it, but some of those young guys that I was I want to be the bad guy too. And I'm like, no. But when Matt came in a good mood, and Matt was super cheerful, like, oh, I had a good day, this. And all the players looked at me, I'm like, put my head up, like, I got to be the jerk today. Yeah. Like, you have to be the opposite of the head coach. It doesn't matter what day you had. Coach has a bad day, you better have a good day. Coach has a good day, you better have a bad day.
Yeah, that's what makes it so hard from that, being an assistant. Like, you never know. And with teaching, like, you walk in, I can remember in cross country especially, my kids always knew when I had 1 year I had a really rough 7th period class at Greenwood, and I was like, worst class I've had in 30 years of teaching, and I was like, oh my gosh. I would go out and be like, we're running 7 miles, like, and I would be running hard, like, they were just like, coach, or we'd be on the track and doing speed work, and they're just like, what? And then finally I figured out, you must have had a bad 7th period. And it is like, you need somebody to be like, hey, wait a minute, this isn't about you. This is about what do we need to do here. But you get caught up in that because, you just, as far as your mentality, especially when you're teaching all day and you come in and your head coach is like, oh my gosh, today was not the day in the classroom.
I always found it interesting watching my weight, because I'm very much a player do person. Like, if the coach is doing everything, I'm doing something wrong. You have the players do it.
Yeah.
And eventually by the end of the season, I started finding myself putting on weight because I'm not doing as much because I'm a player do coach.
Yeah.
And so when the season hits, then I start having to be more active and having to show more. And then the summer comes in, and then I'm actually doing a lot because I'm having to demonstrate a lot.
Yeah.
But then it's just that cycle of like, and when you said that, like, I'm with the players in cross country, well, basketball, I'm very much like, now you go do this, you go do this. And so I become more and more hands off because I don't want to pass. Those are valuable reps of passing that they could be doing.
Right.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, you have to make sure you're maximizing their potential and, getting the reps in, like you said, because, we talked about earlier, I mean, that's the thing I think that's lost a lot in basketball is all the repetition, the extra shooting. It's like, okay, yeah, it's great that you're playing these games and that's a focus and I get it, you need the exposure. And I was okay, and I don't want to say I'm anti-AAU, but when I was, coaching, I'm like, that's fine. I'm going to we have our June, they have July, but even in July, like, you have to put the shots up. You can't just play, 3 or 4 games in a day, 3 or 4 days a week and not shoot at all, because you have to put in the reps. You have to get the shooting in, and then in practice, it's like, we want to get shooting in. It's like, we've got to do X, Y, and Z. Like, shooting's great. Come in early, stay late, like, and we can get some shots up during practice, but we can't spend 30 minutes of practice just on shooting. Like, you've got to do that on your own time. You got to want to do that on your own time, and you should want to do that. I feel like, I mean, who doesn't want to stay and shoot, or have me come in on a Saturday an hour early and let you shoot for 30, 40, 50 minutes. I mean, some kids do that, and
But those are the ones that
are good shooters.
It was interesting because people see me shoot, and obviously I mess around in the facility. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you're so natural. You're such a natural shooter." I'm like, "Nothing about this natural. I bust my butt."
Repetition.
It's just interesting nowadays the way players shift their minds, because if you play, let's just say, if you play 3 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday, and a game on Friday, you've played 7 games.
Yeah.
If you're the stud, you're probably taking 10 shots?
Yeah.
So over the entire weekend, you've probably took 60 shots.
Yeah.
If you come in on a Saturday morning, you could probably take over 500 shots in 30 minutes. So who's going to be the better shooter? Oh, well, you played AAU all summer.
Yep.
I came in on Saturdays and made 500 shots. I mean, there's a balance. And I'm with you. People that listen to me and follow me are like, "Oh, you're very anti-AAU." I'm like, no. I'm not anti-AAU. I'm pro-balance.
Yeah.
This kind of shocked me a little bit, and I kind of had to I think I might have gasped and stepped back like in just horror. But there is a preseason high school league that happens. And I'm like, that's probably the worst thing I could possibly imagine, because, I mean, I know at Greenwood your season was grueling.
Yeah.
Like, you were a 4A coach. You were in one of the top conferences. You were playing Center Grove.
Our non-conference was really tough.
You had a very tough schedule. Yeah. And how you were 1 ankle turn away from losing everything. And then, oh, well, why are your girls all worn down? Oh, because they played 3 months in a preseason game that meant nothing.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just one of those, like, and college coaches aren't even watching it. Right. Like, why are you risking your health out there?
Yeah.
For nothing? Like,
right. I've always been a proponent, or just, promoting training, like just doing training. Like the month of August, it's a non-contact. Like, you can do conditioning, but and you can make conditioning fun in August. But we would,
conditioning's never fun.
What's that?
Conditioning's never fun.
Oh, it can be fun. Amazing race, like scavenger hunts. Like, we try to make it fun.
We're not going to argue about this.
So
obviously, you look at the body sizes. You can tell who doesn't like conditioning.
We tried to make it fun, but at the same time, I'd be like, hey, why don't you guys, we'll, as a program, we can give and one, I don't know, $5 a head. We'll give them $100, and you guys go in and do a group. We'd do group training, or we'd have a trainer come in, or, I mean, I couldn't work with the kids during the month of August as far as with the basketball, but it's like you have to. And I could work with. That's when I took the time to work with our middle school, our 3rd through 8th graders, and we did that the whole month of August. Well, I say the whole month of August, a couple days a week for a couple hours, and so I've always been I'm kind of old school in that I really feel there's a lot to be said about developing your youth. Mm-hmm. And so I have always spent a ton of time with the youth program. I don't want to say a ton of time because it's all relative, but I mean, I feel like as a high school coach, I did a lot of stuff with our youth.
Some coaches don't even touch their youth programs.
Yeah, see, and I that's the fun part for me. I really like working with the younger kids. I liked our high school girls working with the younger kids and developing those relationships, and it's just like having the Allie Beckys and the Holly Hoopengarners, and they're like, hey, I want to be like Avery Gordon or Elle McCullough. I want to they do get inspiration. It's a role model. And I know I was like that when I was in Rushville. We had a lot of Indiana All-Stars along the way, and I was like, I want to.
But it gives you as a senior a sense of responsibility.
Yeah.
Because now you're not just playing for the name on the jersey. There's a girl that's like looking at you and being like, I want to be like her. So,
right.
You can now, I don't want to say hold it over the girl's head, but it gives her an extra gear of, okay, this is why. Does that make sense?
And I feel like we're kind of getting away from that in all of our sports with the whole transfer thing. I feel like the youth program development is kind of getting less and less attention. There's emphasis on recruiting, so to speak, without, that word you don't want to use.
You're retired, you can use it.
yeah, I feel like it, and I think that was probably part of the reason why it was time, because I did not, I really wanted to, do the youth and develop the youth program, and it's you don't want to have to recruit kids in your own community, right? You want to develop those players, and hope that you don't lose them at this point, but I'm not going to go out and look out. I mean, Brownsburg has a ton of talent. Let's spend our time developing it.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have to have, you can't do it by yourself. You have to have assistants. You have to believe in trainers. We have trainers in the area. I know Donnie Brewer did a lot with some of our
Great
kids.
guy.
And he worked, I brought him in the gym. He worked with our youth. We, did 3-on-3 with him, which he and I are on the same page with 3-on-3 with the young kids. We're really into that. With young kids, we just feel like that's a good way to develop, as far as versus the 5-on-5.
Do you think that a player would get more out of 3-on-3, a half-court 3-on-3 summer than an AAU 5-on-5?
Yes.
Why is that?
Well, are you talking about what level? I definitely for your younger kids. Yeah. I just think it teaches them movement and spacing and how to play off each other. It's for little kids, especially kids that have not been exposed to the game. They just don't understand the game.
Yeah.
And so you try to throw 5-on-5, and it's a lot of moving pieces. So it's like, oh boy, let's start down here. Let's start with 3-on-3. And in third grade, let's do 3-on-3.
For the record, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I do agree with you.
And so I just feel like it's a lot of moving parts, and I think you got to throw them a bone every now and again and let them play some 5-on-5, because that's what kids will do, right?
Again, it's all about balance.
Yeah.
Like, it's all.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it helps them understand, just how to screen, when to screen, when to cut, I don't know. There's a lot of things. We did a lot of 3-on-3 just in practice, even at the high school level, and in transition and half court. So yeah, I like that, because even when you do something like 11-man, right, and it's like, I was amazed at how, when we grew up doing that drill, and then you just take it for granted when you're in college and everybody knows how to play, and then you get to the high school level and it's like, these kids don't realize that this is a defensive drill as much as it is an offensive drill. Like, you have to know you're attacking, right? You're 2-on-1, but defensively your goal is to make them pass.
Yeah.
So more than once. And so it's just amazing to me how it's like, you can't just run up and stop the ball, because you got to split the difference. So it's just like, we would try to score it like, okay, if there's 2 passes, or 3-on-2, there's 2 passes, then defense wins.
Yeah.
Type of thing. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just a big thing that I've noticed more in the last 10 years is kids just don't really watch the game. They're not going to games. They don't it's not that they don't understand the game. It's just I don't want to say appreciate, that's kind of a hard word, but I grew up, my dad was very much into the history of basketball and teaching us the appreciation of the sport. And, these kids don't know who Johnny Wooden is. Like, I went my second or third year at Brownsburg, I had kids, they didn't know the teams in their conference, they didn't know the teams in their county, they didn't know that there were only 4 classes in basketball. I'm like, what? Like, how do you not know the teams in your conference? So I literally, I was talking conference, this and that, and some of the answers I got, I literally gave them a questionnaire, I gave them to all the kids, and I had kids say, I said, who's in your sectional? This is Brownsburg. They said, I had a girl write Columbus South. I'm like, Columbus South?
There's
what?
north and east.
Yeah. I'm like, there's a north and an east, and they're not in our sectional. Just things like, how, and it said, who's in our county, what is their mascot, and what class of basketball are they in? And you would be shocked at some of the answers I got. Like, they were saying 6A, 5A. I'm like, that's football. I was just like, and it's just little things like that. Like, I feel like kids, like, yeah, there's the thing, yeah, let's watch Hoosiers, and the kids do that, and kind of tradition and family, but do you really know Indiana high school basketball? And
it's interesting you say, this is just my take on it.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm always like, what's at the core root of it? And I think a lot of it has to do with parents.
Yeah, for sure.
And a lot of the parents don't understand the conference. They don't understand the sectional.
Yeah.
They don't understand. It broke my heart. I'm not saying the school, but they won a state championship. They did really well. And after the game, they mic'd up one of the girls and, hey, what is it? You know what? And she said this, I'm excited about this. I'm ready to get back to the AAU season. After winning a 4A state championship, and my heart just dropped. Like, they don't understand the history because
that's my point. Like I can just, I could see the shift, kind of like you guys don't understand. We all had that talk. What you have here, you have 2,000, 3,000 people watching you play. You're not going to get, most of you will never get this opportunity again.
No.
One or two of you, maybe 3 or 4 if you're in a really good program, but this is it for you guys. Like Indiana high school basketball, you take it for granted. Like most states, it's any other sport, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I grew up, I had appreciation for it because it was just big. It was big in our town. And I think in a lot of towns with tradition, it's just like when I went to Greenwood. When you looked up tradition, because on the Herald site you can look up tradition, Greenwood had nothing. It was completely blank. You looked up Rushville High School, I had like 20 sectional championships, like in a row, like state record. And I'm like, because I'm checking in all this out, and I go, Greenwood, I was like, they have nothing. Like, they've never won a sectional, they've never won a conference, a county, nothing. And it's like, that's sad that some kids go all 4 years and they never win a sectional, or they never win, a county or a conference. And to me, I didn't know I was like, I can't even imagine that. We won conference every year in high school. We won sectional every year, regional. I went to college. We were 36-0 in conference games. Like, what do you mean you've never won a conference? Like you've never won anything.
It's crazy because
awful.
When I was at Morristown, we won. It was the best 5-year stint they've ever had in school history. 107 years. I was there for 3 of those years, but the guys continued afterwards and kept the streak going. It was the best 5-year stint they've ever had as a program. And I remember the gym always being packed. I remember playing Shelbyville.
And we played our sectional in Morristown. Because I played before class basketball.
Okay.
So our sectional was always at Morristown.
Yes.
It was Shelbyville, Rushville, Triton Central. We were a small school per se. 3A now, but back then, we always had a top 10 schedule. That's the one thing. Another thing I got from Cinda, like, you're only as good as your competition. So she tried to play the toughest schedule she could. And that prepared us. I think we were battle tested by the time sectional got there. I remember we played Triton Central and they were like 20-0 going to sectional, and they were going to win, and the mystique of the Lady Lions is gone. I still have the article, and and then they never even got to us. They got beat by Shelbyville. So it's like, wait a minute, like.
But yeah. For the record, if you're listening to this, I don't think I'm going to show the video, but I still see the passion in your eye. Like, you kind of chuckle a little bit of like, oh, you thought and that sting of the article still hits you.
Oh, yeah.
And it's crazy because people don't understand, though, is how many AAU articles have you seen written up? It doesn't happen. It's not history.
No.
Like, this is what counts. And
yeah.
this is what I try to tell Holly, is like, you will forever be an Indiana All-Star. And I talked to the guys at Morristown, and they're like, why is this such a big deal? They're young kids, and they don't understand. I'm like, you will forever be an Indiana State champion.
Huge, yes.
And this is the Mecca. Like, it's Indiana.
Right.
And so, like, this is nothing to snuff at. Like, you're in the history books. And they'll get it. Eventually, they'll turn 20. But I feel like you, at your age, you were able to understand 36-0 at that young age compared to have, like, oh, well, now I'm some old guy with a bad knee and a bad back.
I got a great story, Holly's story, as far as the history of the game. So Holly, her parents really weren't athletic. Like, they greatest supporters, but I don't think they did sports growing up, or at least I'm not aware if they were. Well, Holly was into every sport. So freshman year, Holly is getting lots of minutes, right, as a freshman. Sectional's coming up, and it's about I think we're about to play Indian Creek, or somebody, it was a game that got postponed or something, and Holly's like, I'm gonna miss the game on, I don't know, it was like a Thursday or Friday.
I'm gonna miss that Tuesday game coming up. Yeah.
I was like, what? It's like, what do you mean? She's like, because I'm very much on accountability, and like I'm a rule. Like, if the rule is, if you miss a game, you know, if you miss, you're not gonna be able to play the next game, right? Like, you can't miss a game. Like, if you're healthy, like, what do you mean? She's like, well, my parents were going to Colorado. We're going skiing. I was like, you realize we have sectional, right? Like, she goes, what's sectional? I was like, it's our postseason tournament in Indiana high school basketball, the sectional tournament. Like, she was like, oh, I thought we were done. I was like, Holly, no, like, we have that game that we postponed against Indian Creek, and then we have our sectional. And she's like, well, I can't miss sectional. I go, no, you cannot miss sectional. I go, but you're going to have to sit out against Indian Creek. Because I was like, please, I was praying that we reschedule that game on a Saturday before the sectional, and we did. Thank goodness, because I was going to have to sit her out the first game. She's like, sectional? And I was like, Holly, you're a freshman in high school. What do you mean? You don't know what sectional is. So she's come a long way.
And now she's a college coach.
Yeah.
At Butler.
Yeah.
And
and she knows all about the history of basketball if you're at Butler. Like, you can't be involved at Butler University and not be immersed in the culture there and the history of the game. So.
And for those of us listening, we're not bashing AAU, but you have to have the right stuff on the right area. And it's interesting because if you have a good AAU coach and you get a spotlight on you, and then you go to the high school season and you destroy yourself and you don't put up any points, you can lose college offers like that, because you may see an AAU team once every year, but
you don't have the rivalry.
Yeah. At Morristown, we played Waldron regular season, we played them in the conference, and then we played them in the sectional. And by the time you face somebody 3 times, that's tough. A college schedule. I mean, you think Michigan doesn't, they play a back-to-back with Michigan State, and then you may see them in the tournament, and they're going to have your number.
Right.
Even in the professionals.
It's hard to beat somebody 3 times.
Yeah.
They say that.
It's because eventually you're learning and you're studying, and you pick up each other's tendencies. You don't really have a chance to do that in AAU. And yes, it may be funner, and you may have, I put up 28 this game or that or whatever, but
and you're not really scouting in AAU.
That's it.
You're not, hey, you play this game, now okay, I'm always we played Plainfield last night. This is what we did good, this is what we did bad, and show them on film, because a lot of times they don't know, and it's like, we cannot do this. We cannot let this happen, like, because guess what? Guess who's watching this game? Our next opponent.
And they're picking you apart.
And they're going to realize that all you have to do is play contained man, because we can't shoot.
Yeah.
So what do we got to do?
And this is me as an assistant.
They're going to suck in and give us our shots and take away our drive.
I was very statistic based. I had every statistic based on the other team, and I could tell if you weren't going to shoot. And so, even if you may watch a game and the kid may go not 3 for 3 on a 3-point line, and you write shooter, but then you look at his numbers and he went 4 for 20 the whole year. You're like, okay, I don't have to respect that one game.
Right.
Eventually, the odds are going to play in my favor, and so I'm going to be able to pick you apart. But for me, I always tried to sit in your seat and say, what are you trying to do to beat me?
Right.
And I had, it's funny because being a basketball coach, everyone's like, what do you think about Kevin Durant? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? I'm like, what is it? It's January. I'm like, okay, I know 3 things.
Yeah.
I know the team I got coming up next.
Exactly.
I know the team after that, and I started my scouting report on the 3rd team, but I always had the scouting report ready, so all you had to do was just get it slid to you, and you just look over it and you make your adjustments.
Yeah.
But they're not doing that in AAU. They're just kind of like, all right, let's just see what we got. And I think that's what makes...
Well, I think with AAU, and this is, obviously there's a lot of positives, and we're kind of like picking the non-positives, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest issue I had with high school basketball, just because it meant so much to me, it's like, I felt like with AAU, with my kids, I was coaching at the time, I'm like, it just diminished the value of the high school game. Like, we get 20 games at that time. Now we get 22, but it's like, we only get 22 games, guys. That's it. And so every single game is so important. And you're representing your community, and you're representing your high school, and you're, like, we don't get, and when we get to sectional, it's one and done.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get pool play, and you don't get so I feel like they were just like, oh, we got next week. No, like, that was a conference game we just lost. Like, that's huge. And so I felt like, to me, I was just like, maybe I'm stressing this too much, like, and maybe it was causing them to be, but I'm like, this is an important game, like.
When you're at Rushville, we had the county bell at Morristown. Mm-hmm. What did you guys have at Rushville? Was there
We were the only school in our county. So Rushville has one high school in its entire county, so we never had any county tournament.
Gotcha.
We only had conference, and then we just got a conference championship trophy.
I was so overhearing about that bell by the end of the season. Coaches were talking about it.
At Brownsburg, we have the bell with Avon.
You did have the bell?
And it's in every sport. The bell is in every sport. So now we just finished up our week with Avon for Bell Week, and so every sport played Avon for the bell in every sport. So yeah.
You get a little overhearing it, like, oh, if I got to hear about that bell one more time.
Yeah.
I want you to jump back into your head coach spot right now, and I want you to talk about this for a little bit. When you were a head coach, you were at 2 4A schools, mm-hmm. Greenwood and Brownsburg, the toughest schedules in the state. If you had a freshman, and you go back to even Holly and some of the girls that you had at Brownsburg, if a girl approaches you and had potential to start as a freshman, what were your expectations of her? If there's a 7th grade girl listening to this, what would they have to do, and what should they have prepared to start at the varsity level if that's if they want?
It's a rarity. It's more possible at a Greenwood than a Brownsburg, but I had that in Allie Becky, and I think the biggest thing, looking back on her, I knew when she was in 6th, 7th grade that she was probably going to start as a freshman.
Yeah.
I mean, she's just that talented. So, when I was talking with Allie, I mean, she's her worst critic, and so I think every individual kid's a little bit different, because some kids, they lack confidence. Some kids, they're overly confident.
Too confident.
And then some kids, they're just like, what do I need to do, coach? So I think it's different player by player. I think my biggest emphasis would be, as a point guard, it's going to be different than as, Avery Gordon comes in at 6'5", 6'6". So I think positionally it's different. If you're a freshman and you're a point guard, what I want you to focus on is being a good decision maker and playing hard. And really, as a point guard, if you can make good decisions and you understand the game, obviously you got to be skilled.
Yeah.
Okay, right? So.
But I think that'd even be a 2 guard or a 3 guard that you would expect decision making and working hard.
Oh yeah, for sure. And really, to start at the varsity level, you kind of got to be ahead of the game from a cerebral standpoint to begin with. And I think those are the kids that I knew when I stepped into Brownsburg and saw Allie as a 6th grader go. She was so far cerebrally ahead of even kids at the high school level. I was like, wow, like she saw that pass or that play or that cut.
Which all goes back to, though, she studied the game at a young age.
Oh,
she wasn't just a player, she was a studier.
She was a student of the game for sure. And so she was an easy one because she's very coachable. She's very skilled. She's super competitive. She didn't want to fail. So I think when you have kids that are pleasers and don't want to fail, and they're their own worst critics, I think you have to coach them a little bit differently. So when she stepped in as a freshman, the focus was, hey, you're a creator. Let the game come to you. Don't try to do too much. Just be, if all else fails, just play really good defense.
Yeah.
And we won't be able to bring you off the floor. So I tend to have kids that were more nervous and starting the varsity level. It was like, hey, let's just rebound, play good defense, and hey, if you score a few points along the way, great. So I kind of focused on the other end because I think kids feel a lot of pressure to score and do this and do that. And I was always a big on effort and, just play hard. Just play hard. And good things will happen.
a lot of people, and it was funny because I had a game. I have 3 teams that I'm running out of the HSA, and the first 3 weeks I do no offense. It's all defensive work. And I get couple texts from some parents. Well, what about the offense? What are we going to run? I'm like, that'll take care of itself. And I just know our defensive concepts. Right now we're going on week 5, and now I could just touch on the defenses. I could focus more on offense, but we win a lot of games because we know where we are defensively.
Right.
And so many people want to focus on the offensive side, but you pull a freshman and be like, hey, if you lock up their best player, if you can get some steals, if you can get some rebounds, I got to leave you on the floor, and that's a good for you. And
I had a girl on those teams, those really good Brownsburg teams that we had. Her name's Mackenzie Bedrick, and she wasn't the most skilled offensive player, but she knew her limits, she knew her role, and she was absolutely one of the best defenders, hardest workers I've coached. And I literally could not take. She played with Allie Becky. She graduated a year ahead of her, and had a really talented class that class of 2020. And I couldn't take her off the floor. I literally, if she ever made a turnover, she would get the steal at the other end. Like she would just be so fixated on, oh my gosh, and she might have maybe averaged 1 turnover a game.
Yeah.
But she would play 32 minutes if we were in a tight game, and she could do it because she was conditioned. She ended up playing Division I softball, but she was a type kid that I was like, play all the softball you want, but from October to February, you don't have to be super skilled for me. I mean, she dribbled the ball, got it out of traffic. She always got it to the person that needed it. And I remember she averaged like 2 or 3 points a game. I remember one game she had 16 points, and we were all just like, whoa, we were going crazy. I don't think she ever scored double digits again, but man, every player on that team respected her and knew that couldn't have her off the floor.
I think that you need that bulldog player for every good team. We had a young man, Logan Theobald. He was a decent shooter. If he took 3 dribbles or more, he was in trouble, but he could score off 1 or 2 dribbles. And but so many referees, he never put a hand on us. He cared about us. He was a deeply passionate person. But every referee would come to us like, hey, that kid's got to get off the floor. And we're like, why? He's going to punch somebody. He ain't going to punch nobody.
No,
like he's diving on the ball, and he's not going to let our guys get pushed around. And I think you need that. I got one more question for you.
Yep.
All right. You wake up tomorrow, and Coach Debbie is the commissioner of American basketball. Any rule you make from the NBA all the way down to second graders, this is a rule that has to be followed. And I've had some people say they want a biomechanics coach in every program to teach you how to walk. I had some people say a 4-point line. I had people say a mandatory 24-second clock. What rule are you passing and why?
Okay, well, it wouldn't be a 4-point line.
Okay. Not a fan of that. Not deeper.
I'm okay with deeper, but I think there's a lot of discrepancy, and I get it. You got to have rules at each level, and you want your high school rules to kind of transition into college and college into professional. But my thing is the disparity amongst boys and girls at the college level. Like, let's make it a half, 2 halves, or let's make it 4 quarters. Let's take it out and get it to advance it, or let's not take it out and get advance it. Like, why is the NCAA boys have this set of rules and girls have this set of rules? And I would like to see it aligned a little bit more with high school. And they have done that.
Yeah.
They are starting to change it a little bit in the high school level. But I think I would just say, hey, let's all get on the same page in the NCAA. It's probably not the answer you're looking for.
No, that's it.
That's probably something that I would do. Like, what are we doing here? Because then you're like, hey, they should have it up there. It's like, no, this is not.
The biggest one that kills me is the stoppage of clock under 2 minutes, where the ball goes in and everyone's like screaming, "Stop the clock!"
Yeah,
and you're like, it doesn't work that way in high school, homie. Like, that clock is running.
Yeah.
Coach, you did amazing. I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It was a pleasure to have you, and I appreciate the name drop of Donnie.
Yeah.
He's a good friend of the program. So,
good.
Hey, if you made it this far, obviously you heard something you like. Give us a like, share this with somebody, and I hope you took a lot of notes, because Coach Debbie here, she dropped a lot of gems, and just hope you picked them up. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate you.